Hi everybody, Russ from My Hammers 11, still sweating buckets. I can't bear this heat, I'll be honest. Hope you're all safe and well for your channel. Please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. Obviously, we have videos going up daily. We will keep you going during this weird pre-season, off-season type world we live in at the moment. We've lots of West Ham content, lots of fans coming up, including today's fan. I'm not going to even try and pronounce his surname because I don't want to do it, because I won't do it justice. It's Lewis John. We'll just call you. How you doing, Lewis?
Fine,
How's
mate.
things?
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Very good.
Hey,
Glad
how
it's cooled
and
down.
yeah, oh, yeah. I was still sweating buckets. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I can't get used to it. But how are you? Have you been sort of during this sort of weird time we live in at the moment?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. I mean, I run my own business and stuff, so it has been tough. I won't lie to you, but
Mm.
things are slowly starting to pick up. But yeah, strange for everyone, and because I just live with me and my dog, it's been tough, really. But you know, it's tough trying to have a dog and not being able to walk him and get out and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, all good, mate. Things are, like I say, trying to get back to normal now. So
yeah.
um, yeah, slowly getting there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's slowly getting there. It's sort of baby steps, isn't it? But I mean, and the great thing is, obviously, you're quite sort of active on Twitter and things. Despite the fact that no one's been able to see each other properly, everyone's been able to keep in touch, haven't they? Sort of the West Ham, and that's lovely
Absolutely.
to see. It's really nice to see, and it's not just on Twitter, on Facebook, and you see that sort of West Ham community, everyone pulling together, everyone helping each other out, and it makes me proud to be a Hammer. It really does. I don't see it with anyone else. Maybe because I'm biased, but I don't see it with like Tottenham fans or Villa fans or whatever like that. Do you know what I mean?
We are a great fan base. I've always
Yeah,
said that. We're probably one of the funniest, if not the funniest, fan bases. You go to your, especially away games, and
yeah,
some of the stuff you pick up there are just you remember forever. It's brilliant.
yeah. You're right. We do have this innate sense of humour that comes with supporting West Ham, and it's funny.
It's
Even
just
trans,
sorry, they're just so quick at some of the things. Something will happen, and literally someone will come up with
yeah,
something, and it just like the someone mentioned the other day about the Arsene Wenger, the Watford away game, and there was this woman came out and she looked like Arsene Wenger, and the fans were literally like, "There's only one Arsene Wenger," and
yeah.
it's just things like that just off the cuff and brilliant.
It is, and it's like I would love to. And I don't know when people come up with these chants as well, because sometimes people are like they'd be at an away game and there must be a WhatsApp group I'm not invited on or whatever, and they just and then the chant just develops and then it just carries on, as you said, some things like that. I mean, that's half the fun against the away games, isn't it? You get so much more banter than you get at the home games.
Definitely, it's superb, and like I say, I'm sure everyone's missing it.
Yeah.
At the minute, it's sad, really. But I'm sure when it all comes back, everyone's going to be, looking forward to it so much. It's even if we're having a bad season, I think fans just want it to
Yeah,
be there, really.
yeah. I think we'll be more appreciative of football in general, like live football. Like obviously we see it, we've been able to see it on the telly, but yeah, actually going live and seeing your mates and going to the pub, and I think we'll appreciate that a lot more. And it won't necessarily be about the result; it'll be about, and it never has been, Lewis. To be honest, I'm not being funny. We're not in it for the football, are we? Really?
No,
We've backed the wrong pony if that's the case. But it's that sort of togetherness and just that spirit and just that family and atmosphere which I think people miss, and you can't really replicate it. You can. I mean, we have like Zoom watch along parties and things like that, but it's not the same. But although I think we've made the best of what we can do, to be honest, and at least we're in the Premier League next year, so
yeah,
that's better than nothing. What
and it's been
team?
great because we've got obviously like yourself, you've kept us going during lockdown, and Dave and X, Sean and Nige on
Yeah,
Roost podcast, Free Hammers Chat. Everyone's been brilliant. They've kept West Ham Fan TV. They've kept us all entertained and stuff
oh
throughout, which is
yeah,
great.
oh
Because
brilliant, yeah,
it's to say because of my job, I'm walking all the time.
yeah.
I've got my phone on. I can listen to a lot of podcasts, and it's great because we're shut away and stuff, and we can still listen and watch and still be entertained, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, and there's so much West Ham content out there now, which is great.
There is, and it's all brilliant, and I love it. I try and watch as much. You almost get like a deluge. That's why I quite like my stuff, because my stuff's not particularly topical. So it's like, even if you come to it 2 or 3 months later, it's all nostalgic. So it's not like it's out of date. Do you know what I mean? Maybe a little banter bit before Andy's, but the rest of it, and yeah, I mean, we actually, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be doing some stuff with some of the other YouTubers together for New Food Banks. So that's going to be announced very, very shortly, I think. But so no, it's great. And I love, as you said, it just keeps everyone going, ticking along, isn't it? There's crap on telly, EastEnders isn't back or anything like that, and so, it's great that everyone's, and also the guys like the American Hammers Network, they have some great content on there, but, it's usually about 2-3 o'clock in the morning for us. But no, they're good fun as well. So Lewis, we see the West Ham shirt, we see the couple of old ones behind your head as well. Why is West Ham your club? What's your West Ham story?
Well, I wasn't born into a football family as so much on, like, my dad and my brother, neither of them were into football. So I had a granddad who supported Sunderland, and the other side of the family were Spurs. So I had a cousin of mine who was a West Ham fan, and he's about the same age as me. And I kind of decided to pick one team, and it was West Ham over Spurs.
Yeah,
which obviously I'm happy about. So for the first 8-10 years, I wasn't even into football at all, and then about 1988, 10 years old, that's when I really started to get into it. And like I say, chose the team, and just bought a couple of VHSs back then of the season highlights, and just absolutely hooked. And watching CFAX, on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Just so enthralled with the whole thing. And then they started bringing West Ham games on ITV, which is a programme used to be called the London Match.
Yeah. And
that was it. The first 2 or 3 years, I just couldn't get enough of it, really. So the first year, obviously, I supported West Ham was relegation season. And the first game was in 91 against Coventry, and we lost 1-0. So,
so you set your stall out quite nicely there.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, and just been there ever since, really. I've never regretted it. I mean, obviously, I was 2 years old when we won the FA Cup, which I don't remember, obviously. But yeah, I've never regretted it. It's just one of them teams that it frustrates the hell out of you, but it's.
But you love it, yeah.
Yeah, even relegations. We've enjoyed the Championship down there when we went down last time, and
we did.
It's like I say, they frustrate you so much, but they're your club, and.
Yeah,
I don't see how some people can change teams willy-nilly, because once it's in your blood, that's it.
No, it does. It gets. And what I've always said about West Ham is it just gets into your system without realising, sort of seeps in the clothes, and it's like it's so for me it's like I might have a meeting on a Wednesday night or like a late Wednesday afternoon meeting, thinking, I've got West Ham. It's always in the back of your mind, what's going on. And, subconsciously I was doing a thing with the Irons United guys, and I was doing it in me and my wife's bedroom. And without realising, my bedroom is sort of claret and blue. And I didn't even realise that. And someone mentioned it on the live stream, was like, oh God, yeah, it just has these little blinkers on. And you're right, I can't get people who did the whole sort of flipping, glory hunting. It doesn't tend to happen so much with sort of the older fans, but the younger fans, when they're sort of finding their club, I think once you pick your club, you've got to stick with it through thick and thin. And my daughter, she hasn't got a chance, bless her. I never really had a chance, really. My great granddad was a coach for the Thames Ironworks, so from always there's been this sort of West Ham thread flowing through. So but you're right, they frustrate you more than anything. But doesn't matter what season, if we go down, we finish fifth, you'll know at least twice or 3 times a season we'll turn up and be world beaters, whether it's against Chelsea or Tottenham or Man United or Arsenal. There'll be 2 or 3 and that's our season. That's my season, And for that week, I can go to all my Tottenham friends and go, ha. The other 51 weeks of the year, I go hiding.
It's like the season, though. We didn't get beaten by any of the bottom 3 teams, which is unlike us.
That's really unusual,
We lose to them teams, and then we beat the top teams. But no, we were unbeaten against the bottom 3 teams this year. So
crazy, isn't it? And although and every season, every sort of close season, like now, I have blind optimism that this is going to be our year. I swear I've said that every year for the past 25 years. It's going to be our season this season, and the thing about West Ham is they could easily either get relegated or win the league. You know, they're sort of in between, and neither would surprise me because they're just so random, West Ham, and I think that's why we love them, because we just don't know what we're going to expect on a Saturday or a Wednesday or a Monday or a Thursday. Depends when the game's on.
I've kind of thought this one out. I don't know if you remember Panini.
Yeah,
it's got the old books in there, and it's got the old teams and stuff. So I've got the 88 to 89 and 89 to 90. So things like that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
You know, it was brilliant. And my first shirt, the BAC one at the bottom, was obviously it's a kids one, so it doesn't fit me anymore. But you know, I've got quite a few of the shirts as well. But
yeah,
no, I've just been football man ever since, really. So just wish I'd seen. I mean, I know we've won the playoff final, but I wish we kind of won something in that time, because it's just so frustrating.
It is. I just think it would, although we're sort of used to it now, it would be nice just to win something just for the fans, you know, just because the thick and thins, as you said, with the guys who've been around, you know, they might have supported them in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. They've had a bit of glory, but we haven't. You know, we'd been in Tota Cup in '99, European glory, and that's been it. And obviously the FA Cup final in '06, but it'd be nice. Even I'll take a League Cup. I mean, that's the only thing we haven't won is the League Cup, so that'd be quite nice. And no one seems to bother about the League Cup. I'd love them all just to have a go. I know. I'd just love them to have a go. But the trouble is, it's all about the Premier League, and it's all about the money, and who knows what's going to happen this year. So we'll see what happens. But until then, we'll dream. I think the fixture list goes out in about a week or so's time. So blind option.
We always top 4 or top 16, don't we?
Yeah, well, and you'll have a couple, and I reckon, but we'll see. The thing is, whoever you're going to play at the moment is just weird, isn't it? Because are you a crowd noise on or a crowd noise off type person when you watch the football?
Crowd noise off, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just different when the German football first came back, obviously before the Premier League, and you're kind of watching it. And it didn't bother me having no fans, but it's interesting to hear what the players are saying and the managers and all that. Yeah, it's strange. It was very strange to start off with, but no, you
just get used to it now. We've just sort of got used to it all now. I think it's gonna be weird when fans start going back in, because we're so used to sort of having a good view of the game, you know. And that's the thing. Absolutely. You go back to your seat where everyone understands. You're like, what? I can't see anything. Where's my action replay? Where's my commentary from Jamie Redknapp afterwards? My halftime analysis. No, you just say it's so funny how people adapt so quickly. Crowd noise. It's about 50-50 the people I ask, crowd noise on or off. So I can see both sides of it, but it's funny. I do switch between usually just to hear, you know, the players swearing more than anything, because they can't bleep it out, so it's quite funny.
Exactly, and they always the commentators have to apologise.
I'm so sorry if you heard any rude words. Well, what would you expect? They're not going to say, "Oh, flipping hell." Let's get on to the 11, Lewis, because I'm looking forward to this. As I said, the whole point of the channel, it's the Hammers 11. That's my Hammers 11. That's the whole point of it. Is the count of your 11. So your individual 11 of the players that you've been alive to see play. Obviously, it means that we're not all putting Bobby Moore in the team and people like that. And Billy, I never saw Bobby play, never saw Billy play, never saw Trevor play. But I saw, Andy Melville. I saw Jonathan Spector and Malky Mackay, Jonathan Spector and Midu. That's who I saw. Unfortunately, they weren't in my 11, but and you can do whatever you want. You know, some people do a theme, some people do their favourite, some people do whatever. It's up to you, man, and that's what's great. We've had about 200 different players have turned up since we've been doing. I think you were about 145th interview, something like that. So we've had quite a few, and so there's been a nice spread. So we'll start in goal. Who's going to be between the sticks for the Lewis 11?
So it was a difficult one, because when I first done this, it's just impossible to just do it and then not change things, but kind of done it, and I ended up it was like the 91-92 team, and it was like, I can't have all that, I need to kind of mix it up a bit, because for me that's my, growing up, that was my first sort of year sort of thing. So, but in goal for me, I don't think you can look past McCloskey. Ludo was, for the money we paid, and it was a Macari signing as well.
It was, yeah.
A lot of people forget that Macari actually signed some decent players.
He did. Bish and stuff.
Morley, Bish, Martin Allen. He signed some brilliant players. And Ludo was obviously one of them. And from day one, you could see how good he was. And I'm surprised he never made it into a bigger team, to be honest. I know he's quite a shy guy, and I think he was kind of happy with where he was.
Yeah, I get that.
He could have gone on and made a lot more money and everything else, but I think he was happy in the where he was, the team he was. He knew he was adored, and the guy was just. There's a couple of season reviews on there, and I think on one of them they actually said, they put a couple of McCloskey errors on there just to say he is actually human. I think one of them was in the order shot in the cup, and I think we won 7-1.
And he let the one in.
6-1, I think it was. And he literally just pushed it into the net, and they put that on there. But he rarely made a mistake, and he was just immense.
Yeah, and he was just the first that sort of modern era goalkeeper. The Phil Parkses were big blokes, weren't they? Yeah. But McCloskey was just this quite an athletic guy, still quite built, but more athletic. And you see now with the Keppers and De Gea's, they're even more sort of scrawny, really. You do have people and I think you're right. It might be because he was more of he's a terribly shy person, Ludo is, and that might be why he never probably went that next stage. Maybe, I don't know, but thankfully he didn't, because he became a legend at West Ham. But
because obviously we had players on loan before him, and it was like Perry Suckling. I don't know if you remember him.
No.
And Tony Parks, I think he was ex-Spurs goalkeeper. He come on loan. So we had a lot of loan goalkeepers when I was growing up. But as soon as Ludo came in, it was just
that was it, wasn't it?
And I was glad he came. I was really happy when he came back as coach as well, because I'm surprised he's still not kind of in the game. I don't know where he is. I don't think he's
back in the homeland, I believe. But I know what you mean. And he just seemed to be in goal for us forever. He just seemed to be in goal for always and all the time, I remember. But all right, I'll put Ludo in. Who's next? I'll let you go through the team as you want to, Lewis.
Right, so right back.
Yep.
I've gone with Tim Breaker.
Timmy Breaker.
For me, again, very underrated. A bit like Ludo. And he was with us a good long while, but he just used to get down that right-hand side, and he used to play some terrific balls in there.
He did.
And he would obviously come up with a goal or two, but he was just fearless, absolutely brilliant, Tim Breaker. I've got a lot of Luton. I grew up with a lot of. I'm from St Albans, so I'm not far from Luton and stuff. But so I grew up with a lot of Luton fans, and they said how good he was, and we signed him, and I was well chuffed. And like I say, he done it for, I don't know how long he was with us, 8, 9, 10 years. A long time again. They stuck around that era. And he was just, we've had him on the channel, and he's just a lovely bloke. And what I love about him, he was just, and it's, again, it's actually looking at the end of season reviews. I went back and looked at some of them recently, and I didn't realise how much of a good player he was. He was always just on the team sheet. Never really thought of that, but he was really sort of more of a modern day right back, because he'd bomb forward quite a lot rather than just be a defender. But no, he was a great guy and a lovely bloke. Right, Tim Breaker's in. Who is next? We're going centre back? What are we doing? We'll go centre back.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Ginge.
Yeah.
Just what the guy was all about. He loved the club. And I always said he probably could have not been in a top 6 side week in, week out, but I do believe that he could have been on the bench and come on and done a job for someone.
Yeah.
Because I believe he was really, he used to just put his body on the line. He'd chuck himself in front of anything. His passion, and he used to make. Problem is with Ginge, sometimes he'd make the one mistake and it would cost us a goal. But
it's that position, isn't it?
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, he was brilliant, and it's a shame how it ended for him. I was gutted.
I think everyone was.
The fans adored him, and he adores the club, and it's a real shame, because we'd all like to have, say goodbye to him, sort of thing. But no, I think the way he played for us, and it's a shame when we sold him. I was gutted when we sold him, and obviously he came back. But no, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it's just a real shame he's no longer even at a club as a coach or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his. I know he's got his soccer school as well, isn't he, at the moment? So you never know. It might be something down the line. You know, I think what the thing about Ginge was, I mean, and I'll be honest. Looking back at it, I can't really remember his first period as much as his second period. Like he came back, he came back as a more West Ham defender, if that made sense. He came back, he had the skinhead. He'd obviously been working with Richard Dunn at Villa, and he came back as like the veteran, you know, like an old school Alvin Marty. He had a goatee, and he looked like and he just looked more hard, and maybe because he was not as quick as he was when he first joined us, he seemed a lot more. He could read the game better. You know, traditionally, you know, our centre backs haven't been the quickest. I think people like Alvin and Tony Gale and people like that, but they read the game, and he seemed to read the game a lot better. And he just had this affection with the fans, you know, and like Chav Corner, like would love him, and adopted Chav Corner would love him as well. And I love a player who genuinely gives his shirt away to someone, you know, not just ceremoniously like throws into the crowd. He picks someone up like a little kid and hands him his shirt, and it costs him fuck all, doesn't it? It costs him nothing, and it makes such a difference to that person. But yeah, Ginger Pele's in. Ginger Pele's in.
It's just the way he used to like. He didn't care if he got a bloody nose or a broken nose. It's, you know, if that ball was going in the back of the net and he threw his face in front of it, he'd do it.
And
we love that at West Ham. It's like,
oh god, yeah,
Dicks, you know.
Yeah. Right, who's next? No, who's next? I love James Collins. Yeah, who's next, man?
Steve Potts for me.
Potsy. Oh my,
brilliant. Just again in the team when I was growing up, and again a long-term servant to the club. I think he was kind of playing right back when I was growing up, but then moved to centre back, and he got that one and only goal against Hull, which was an absolute belter. But no, brilliant, absolutely. Just Mr. Consistent again. You know, I think that's the third player in this team that's underrated, if not the fourth.
Yeah.
Whether I'm just being biased or not, but Potts was. He was American. He never played for America, which is.
I know, weird, isn't it? Connecticut he came from originally, but yeah, no, he was just Mr. Consistent, wasn't he? And someone who was 5'8", something like that, shouldn't have been a good centre back, but you know, but I mean, Tim Breaker coming into the team pushed Potts into centre back, really, and then he was, you know, I think he was great. And obviously, he's someone who's still in the club, you know, obviously under 23's coach.
Absolutely.
And
it's a shame his son, you know, Brad.
Yeah.
Is it Brad Potts?
Danny.
That's what I'm thinking of, the other Barnsley player. But it's a shame it never worked out for him, because that'd have been nice to have him in the team, like, you know, Alvin Martin's son sort of thing as well. But yeah, it's Steve Potts was great captain. Yeah,
he was a fantastic captain. Never had a hair out of place. That'll be a good 11. Father and son 11. I'm going to write that down. Yeah, I reckon you could. That'd be a good one. Or father and son, or brothers. i.e. the Ferdinand brothers. Anyway, or the cousins. God, you could have the Ferdinands. You could have Rio, Anton, Les, and the Allens. Yeah, Martin Allen, Clive Allen. Oh, Paul Allen. God, that's done the team. Done. Good night. Thank you. Right, we'll put Potsy in. Who's going to go left back then? I could probably guess.
You probably guessed.
Raz Van Rats. No.
Rita Ilunga.
Yes, exactly.
No, Dixie.
Yeah,
I think probably is one of.
He's the most picked. Yeah.
Just you can't. I don't need to even go on about
right.
Dixie. Everyone knows. Again, gutted when he was sold to Liverpool. But he came back. He knew how much the fans meant to him coming back, and I think it was probably the wrong move for him to Liverpool. I think he kind of not regrets it, because he's played for Liverpool, but he's got. I think the last goal he scored, it player to score in the Cop as well, so he's got some sort of record. But no, it's a shame his knees never.
He did, yeah. I mean, he's one of those players. I just think he wasn't as revered outside of West Ham as being a football player as he was inside West Ham, because obviously his personality and his aggression preceded him. And so everyone thought he was a thug. And yeah, he did put in the challenge, and particularly in the earlier stages of his career.
He was sent off 3 times in one season. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But he was a fantastic football player, and I think it's something which outside of West Ham people don't remember. Yeah, it's a shame. But it's a travesty. He never played for England, to be honest.
And well, this is what I was just going to say. You know, they told him not to shave his head, and he said, "Well, you know, I'm shaving my head. I'd rather build a kennel for my dogs than play for England if that's the case."
Yeah,
just ludicrous. You know, that sort of, you know, you've got to have some sort of image to play for England, but
it's crazy.
Just a travesty he never played for him, because even watching the season reviews, you know, we were in the lower leagues, and I think, you know, he'd get header after header and penalty after penalty and long ranger after long ranger, and you know, some seasons he was scoring 15 goals a season.
It's mental, isn't it, from a left back? And they weren't all penalties. You said he scored loads in corners as well. And I remember he was the first goal I ever saw score for West Ham was a Julian Dix 30 yards belt into the top corner.
Was it against Oxford or Man City?
Oxford United 5-3, and Oxford United
5-3, yeah.
And Oxford United scored after about 30 seconds. And I remember that because my granddad, God rest his soul, turned to me and went, "That's it. Get used to it. You've got a lifetime of this." And I didn't believe him, but now I do.
Brilliant game. I've still got it on VHS. Brilliant game.
Yeah, it was so funny. It was just such a bizarre game, but it was so West Ham. Right, okay, Dixie's in. Who is next?
So I will go left wing.
Yep.
Now, this player is my hero, but before I say that, I was going to go, if it weren't for this guy, I would have gone with Matty Etherington, because I don't think we ever replaced him, to be honest.
No, we didn't.
He was brilliant for us. Better than a lot of people thought he was. And like I say, we never replaced him for a long time, even if we ever have.
Definitely have.
Absolutely brilliant he was. But the player I'm going to go for, which is my hero growing up, is Stuart Slater.
Oh, Stuart Slater. See you later.
I don't know if anyone's brought him up before.
Yeah, he's got a few times. Yeah, I mean, not as much, to be honest. And I think he gets a little bit lost in the wash. Do you know what I mean? Of all that players in that era. But yeah, carry on, man. Talk about Slater, man.
Slater was, I mean, I tried to be him at school because he was just, I mean, obviously that game against Everton was, everyone will remember, but just what a winger. You know, he had pace. There was that goal, I don't know if you remember, against Sheffield United, I think it was, when Ludo kicked it. Eamon Dolan flicked it on, he chested it and straight over the keeper. It's probably on YouTube somewhere, but it was, the guy just had brilliant, he was just immense for me. He had everything, and you knew that you would probably guarantee a goal or an assist with him in the team. And I did meet him and Ludo a few years ago. And I said to him, I was gutted when you left for Celtic. Wish you'd never gone. And he said, well, I wouldn't have met my future missus if I'd not. So,
no,
you know, but exactly. He wasn't, and that's why I like Celtic now, just because of him. But it's a shame that move never worked out, and I kind of followed his career after that, and it kind of went downhill. But again, another underrated player.
Yeah.
I'm surprised bigger teams didn't come in for him this country. I know Celtic were massive back then, but I'm surprised. Again, never played for England. Don't know why. Played for the England B team with Bishop, I remember. But
yeah, it's just weird, isn't it? I mean, as soon as they have West Ham their badge, they seem to be already 4 steps below everyone else. But even now, you know, it's like even like Deck isn't necessarily a nailed-on England starter, which is absolutely ridiculous. You know, and you know, they've all, I mean, you've had it before with Julian, in before them, Billy Bonds, and Phil Parkes never got as many games as he should have, and, you know, obviously he had Shilton and Clements, but still, arguably, he was just as good as them two. But, yeah, no, it's weird with some of our players how they never played that regularly for England, but and Slates was another one. Right. Okay, let's put Slates in. Who is going to be next, Lewis?
Right, I'll go on the right wing.
Sure.
And I'll go Kevin Keane.
Oh, Kevin Keane.
Again, from that same sort of era. Just again, what a tricky little winger. Lightweight, but knew how to put a ball in, knew where the back of the net was as well. Just
a lovely bloke as well. Such a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly. He is, and he's a great coach as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
you know, he's very, very highly regarded as a coach.
At West Ham. I think he's done every coaching position you can have at West Ham. Because he was obviously caretaker as well, wasn't he? He was actually full time, and then he was assistant, youth team reserve. I think is literally when I interviewed him, it was we went through it, and he's pretty much done every position you can do in the coaching staff at West Ham, and he's incredible bloke, lovely guy.
you look at most of the goals of the seasons I was growing up and watching, you know, it was either a goal from him or an assist. It was just a bit like Slater, just knew that with him on that wing, cutting in and putting a ball in, you know, especially with like Morley, Quinn or someone like that up front, you know, we were guaranteed a goal.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny story with Kevin Keane when I interviewed him was his car buddy, his carpool buddy was Martin Allen. What a weird pairing. And so every day they would go.
So shy, wasn't he, Kevin?
Yeah, and Martin was Martin, and so they would go, and they were in West London. So every day they would be around the M25 to Chadwell Heath, both of them. And I was like, and when I asked him about it, Kevin was like, yeah. Don't know how it happened, but it just did, and they became the most like the odd couple. They really were the odd couple, and sometimes they stopped off in Ilford to go and play some snooker or whatever, the snooker hall. And but all these stories are like with coming out when I'm interviewing him. But Kevin's a fantastic player, and in fact, he was a fantastic player, a lovely guy, great coach. He's trying to get he was asking about Mark. You know, what's Mark going to do when he retires? And he said, I've already had a word. Apparently he's a fantastic coach. The kids he really respects him because obviously they would do. He's like West Ham captain, you know. He's their Billy Bonds, and he's apparently really, really good with the kids. But we'll see what happens after he retires. But we'll put Keno in. Nice couple of old school wingers you've got there, Lewis.
Yeah, definitely.
Proper wingers.
Like I say, it's just because the era growing up, and
but it is that though.
We have had some.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some great wingers like. Oh, if you can put Berkovic on the wing, he was probably more as, you know, central midfielder, attacking midfielder, but obviously Ben Oyoun as well. So we've had some good wingers. I say, Matty Etherington was one, but for me, just growing up, and I know it was a lower league we were playing back then. You know, it was the old Division 2, but you know, like I said, with them two on the wing, you know, you were guaranteed a goal, and you know, Morley got a lot of goals just from them two. Yeah,
totally. Right, let's go into the central midfield positions.
Right, central, I'll go again. You know, we've had some great ones over the years. Monks was a favourite of mine, but I'll go with Bish.
Yes, Bish Bosh.
Again, I know I've probably said it for everyone now, but again, underrated. His passing, you know, was, if anyone says it, you watch players these days and they play a long range pass, it's like, you know, what an incredible pass. But Bish used to do it, and he used to make it. It was just effortless.
Yeah,
it was complete effortless, and it was, you know, he'd crunch into attack. I wasn't afraid of that. Obviously, he was a captain at one point as well. But yeah, his range of passing was one of the things for me. He used to just pick someone out, just ping it, and actually find someone's feet.
Yeah, such a skillful player. He was so silky, wasn't he? He was a silky player.
Again, you know, why wasn't he picked for England? Again, he played for England.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe he had long hair. Maybe it was
the opposite to Julian.
He looks like a woman. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh no, I love it. And we've had him on as well. He's been brilliant. And it was funny when we had him and we had Monks on. I was talking about them as a pairing, and Monks said we were so confident when we were playing together. There was a 2-3 season period where we would have taken any midfielder on and had a go at them, whether it was, you know, Keane, whether it's Vieira and Petit, whether it was, you know, we were so assured of ourselves, and you sort of got that sense with them too, that they're right cocky pair of two. And and some of the stories
how cheap they were. I mean, Monks was what, £1 million. Bish
from
was
Swindon. Well, Bish was part of the deal. He was part of the deal with Morley and Wardy going the other way. Yeah. And so, I mean, fuck all money really, but I mean, you know, what they brought to the club, you know, and not just that, but obviously they were characters, and we love characters at West Ham, and they both were fantastic, you know. And some of the stories that Bish tells me about, you know, and he used to, you know, wind up. He told me a story actually about Steve Potts. Actually, Steve Potts' his testimonial year, and they were having a gala dinner up in London, and he got Pottsy so legless that he was like, he was almost comatose, and he was walking around with Steve Potts like held up like he was asleep on his arm for the whole night. And it was just so funny. And Bish would always,
when you think, you'd look at Potts and think he was teetotal, but
yeah, totally. And I think he usually was, but it was his testimonial year, and his wife, and I think he said Potts' wife was absolutely apoplectic at Bish for how, and he's done it before. And he was also telling a story. He used to wind up Alvin Martin, and honestly, it's some of the stories. And you just think that era of him, Mad Dog, Monks.
There's that one with Moncur when he was, running around the training ground with his pants.
We talk about that. Yeah, we talk about that. He tells me exactly what happened, and so because I interviewed someone else, a guy called Reece Bayliss, who was at the training ground when that happened, because they used to let the kids in to watch the players. The kids that skived off school basically at lunchtime. They used to let them in, and Harry used to let them in to watch the train. And Monks tells the story that it was like a really cold day or really wet day, and basically all the foreign lads would turn up and nick all the kit. And they'd have like 2 jumpers on, pairs of leggings or leggings, like jogging pants. And he turned up and he went to Eddie, "What we got, mate?" He goes, "No kit, mate. You only got like a t-shirt." But he was, "I'm not having this." So he literally went completely bollock naked, ran past the door, Harry's door. Because Harry just saw this naked man just run across, like pops his head out, proper like Carry On style, and he was like running onto the pitch, and he said, "John, get in! We've got the Sky cameras in today." And so John was like, and because apparently John did like a massive Klinsmann dive, like in the mud, like completely naked, and he said, "Look, I'm not getting any kit. I'm going to go naked every day." And from then on, he always had a tracksuit. Always had his own tracksuit. So there we go. But
I wonder if he's calmed down now, or he's still the
no.
same.
Absolutely crazy, honestly. I watched the interview again last night. There was nothing on to do, so I watched it again last night and was just laughing because he's still got that cheeky, chappy nature about.
He's got glasses now as well.
He's got glasses. He had these sort of, but he's just so funny because he's not one of those people you see a lot on. You don't see him on Twitter or on Facebook or YouTube. He doesn't do a lot of that. But he's still got that twinkle, and when he talks about things, you just see his face come alive. And you went, "Oh God, I'll tell you this." And he's just like telling this story and this story and this story, stories I hadn't heard. It was absolutely brilliant. But anyway, we put Bish in. There we go. Bish is in.
And that's what you need for a dressing room.
Totally.
If you're struggling at the bottom of the league, you need players like that to pick the team up. And, just go out and have a good time, and that's what Nolan and Rim used to try and do.
Yeah,
when we were struggling at times, used to just get the lads together. Like Lucas Neal, I think he was big.
Very much so. Anton Ferdinand was very up.
And you imagine if you had Bish, Monks, and all that, and you're struggling, and you're having a laugh in training. It just brings that morale up.
Well, it's like another one. I mean, again, this is becoming a John Moncur episode, but I don't care because I think I actually adore the bloke. He was telling me this other story about the foreign players, and I was like, how does it work? Because obviously it's quite savage in your dressing room, I'd imagine, with you, Bish, Martin Allen. He went, you'd give it and you'd get it. It was pretty savage. He went, sometimes I'd literally come home and my sides would be hurting, so I was laughing so much during training, which is lovely to hear. And he was saying when like the foreign players in, some of them just couldn't get it, and like Davor Suker was one he used to call him Big Dave, and he used to just Big Dave was really into his stocks and shares, and so he basically said to John, because John started to do a bit of stockbroking, because it's like a punt really, it's like a gamble for him, and he's like, right, I've got a good deal coming in, some good shares coming in. There's going to be a report soon. They're going to fly. We're going to make our money on this. And then Harry heard about it as well, and he's like, what's going on here? What's going on here? So they all put money into these stocks, and next week, the report came out and all the stocks plummeted and they all lost their money. Training next day, Monks kept on going into Suker like proper double-footed tackles during training. And Big Dave gets up and turns to Harry, and Harry's going, just play on. Like, I'm just trying to kick the shit out of him because they lost their money. But it's just, honestly, that era. Just love that era. All the stories are brilliant. Right, anyway, we'll move on. We digress as we always do in this channel. We put Bish in. Who's next, man? Who we have next, Lewis?
Right, Nobes.
Nobes.
Again, I could have picked Monks again with Bish, but I've gone with Nobes just because he is Mr. West Ham, as we know. I've never been one for telling him, saying that he needs to be dropped, because for me, he's an epitome of that team, and again,
of course,
it's probably had something to do with this season when we were struggling all
definitely
together. But I just love the way he with his passion, and especially when we play Spurs, and just everything about him. And I love the loyalty he's been. I think Fulham were after him at one stage.
Yeah.
And he just decided to stay just because how much he loves the club, and I love loyal players like that. You know, Carlton Cole as well. You know, loyal Potsy, as we've said as well. So, no, for me is, I'm glad he's still here. It's a shame he's getting on a bit, but as long as he stays around for the next couple of years and does his badges and at least gets, you know, 10, 15 minutes at the end or something. But we need someone like him in the dressing room, I believe.
Oh, definitely.
You know, like I say, I'm sure he had something to do with towards the end of the season. He got the lads together and stuff, because he knows how much it means as a fan. You know, you could be a captain, you could be a foreign captain who's come over here, and you don't know what this club means. But
no, exactly. Yeah,
and I think that's what we need. And when he goes, we will. Even the ones that have slagged him off and said he's too old, he shouldn't be in the team. I think they'll realise that we will miss him.
No, absolutely, totally. I mean, he and I mentioned it before on the channel. When the Chelsea game, he wasn't in the squad, so he was sat behind. So when there's obviously no fans, all the auxiliary squad players, they sit in the disabled area, and so I could see them. And nobody's baseball cap, and literally he is. And you know, when people go, "Oh, I love the club," he is obviously a genuine West Ham fan, and he kicks there. You watch him there; he was kicking every ball. And when that goal went in, when Yarmolenko scored that third goal, he almost like he was going to punch a hole through the wall. Brilliant. And literally, as soon as the whistle went, he leapt over the barrier. He probably could have fucked his ankle, but leapt over the barrier to run down and get in the tunnel as quickly as possible. Wasn't going to go down the stairs or down the lift, you know, straight in. And I think it's so nice for West Ham or for any football clubs to have, you know, your captain is a fan. It makes such a massive difference to the. Yeah. And you're right. And actually, Moisey was saying the other day, in one of his press conferences, that the people that he brings into the club now, he wants them to know what West Ham is all about before they sign. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to sign players who are fancied, that who aren't going to put a shift in, who are sort of, you know, top four players. You know, they don't put a shift in really. They're just skillful. And I think there's a realisation in that, and you can see why we've got more West Ham ex-players in the setup. Obviously, someone like Kevin Nolan, you know, is a great captain for us as well. Great. His influence is clearly on the team around sort of since restart, particularly with the corners and stuff like that. And you know, Carlton, obviously, you've got people like that, Zavon Hines, Potsy, all these people, you know, are just in the club, and it just helps keep that sort of boot room atmosphere, which I think West Ham need. As you said, when Mark's gone, hopefully he'll be, you know, in the setup, coaching, youth team coach or whatever. Because
and it's a shame we've got no one coming up behind him that has got that passion for the club, because when he goes, there's not going to be anyone in there that's really got.
No, I think obviously we know who Mr. Rice's favourite team are, but I think Mr. Rice has a real affection for the club, and you can see that, and you can see that when he won the Hammer of the Year. That didn't sound like a player who was going to go, who wanted to go, not was going to go, wanted to leave a club. Yeah. And I think he's one of those players who's not going to, if God forbid Chelsea put in, you know, if they put in like 30 million and Ollie Barkley, we'd tell him where to go, I would hope. And Deck isn't going to throw his toys away. I would love Deck to be our next Mr. Mark Noble. You never know. I mean, you never know. He seems such a level-headed bloke. Yeah. He would, if he stayed at West Ham, he would be a massive fish in a small pond. At Chelsea, he'll be one of, you know, he'll be lost in the what. Ollie Barkley, he was like, you know, God at Everton. He went to Chelsea, and you forget he plays for the club. Yeah. And I'm worried that would happen to Deck as well, particularly because I think, you know, we go again, massive tangent, but you know how they, you know, I think Lampard's got this view of him playing centre back, and it's like, I'm not being funny. The position Declan Rice plays for West Ham, that position is so unusual. They're really hard to get those types of players. Centre back, you can go and pay 40 million for Nathan Ake, or you can go buy Koulibaly from Napoli. You can get a decent centre back. You can't get a decent that Fernandinho, that Declan Rice, that position, and he'd be wasted if he goes to Chelsea. I really think that talent would be wasted. Sure, he might get more England caps because he might end up playing centre back.
Win more things, yeah.
But as a professional, very similar to when Rio left, he went to Leeds and went to United, and although he had a fantastic career, they knocked out that ball playing side of Rio Ferdinand. He was a defender, not this, and. He would be in the same as Joe Cole. He then gets pigeonholed onto the left wing or whatever, and isn't this sort of free spirit role. People stay at West Ham. I think they would make a difference. Anyway, there's my plea.
And how many managers has he played under as well?
Exactly.
If he was that bad, or some people might say, well, is it just because he is Mr. West Ham that he's not that good? Some managers haven't rated him, but he's just been playing just because of who he is. But no, he's very worthy of being in that team.
Oh, totally. And you're right. Yeah.
And again, why didn't you get an England cap?
Exactly. And he made a decision to stick with England rather than Ireland, and he could have been could have had 30, 40, 50 Irish caps, to be honest. But and I like the way Moyes has found a position for him, because we know clearly that he's not going to play 90 minutes every week. We know we've got Dec for the beginning of the season, and Souček plus Fornals or one more, and so that number 10 role he's been playing the last few weeks just seems to suit him, almost like a floating role, and it's just his influence on the team from pitch side. It makes a hell of a lot of difference. But
and he comes back, people slag him off, and he comes back. Look at that Norwich game where he set up, and he was instrumental in that game, and people, he just. He gets slagged off, but he's straight in there, and he's putting in performances like that. It just basically shut people up. But no, I think he'd be happy with a more backseat role next season. I think
he's realistic.
As long as he's there, he's not worried about money. He does well out of property anyway, so he's just happy just to be in and around that team and play 10, 15 minutes if he could.
Exactly, and he's realistic as well. I mean, if it means that we keep Dec, we make him. I mean, he'll always be club captain when he's there, but Dec's team captain, Mark would be the first person to hand there, because he'll see it's for the greater good of the club. He knows his time is somewhat on borrowed time at the moment, and if we can, as you said, he can play that sort of backup role, but being the main influence in the dressing room, he could do that for 2 seasons. He's fitter than ever. I think he just seems, and under sort of Moisey and Pellegrini, actually, he became a different player. I think when he was playing with Slav, he was like 60 minutes and he was blowing. Where with the emergence of Declan Rice playing as well, Declan Rice can do a lot more of the donkey work. It gives less pressure on Mark Noble. Now with Souček in, Souček's doing more of the donkey work. Dec's got more freedom to go forward, and then Mark's got more freedom. It does work. I can see method in his madness in terms of Moisey, but
they say that about Moyes, don't they? That I remember him coming in first time round, and they said the first training session, players were absolutely shattered. They'd never trained so hard, and I think that's why. Because under Slav, personally, I know a lot of people disagree, but I think that it was the right time to go. We were last for running. We were training was like a kindergarten. It was not a great place to be around. And apparently, as soon as Moyes come in, and apparently Pellegrini was, we weren't training as hard as we should have been. But as soon as Moyes gets in there,
well, he's got that sort of Scottish attitude. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think Pellegrini would been great if we were a top 6 team. You know what I mean? And to be perfectly honest, if your team is that good and you've got that many star players, the actual training is relatively, it's all set plays, and it's more tactical stuff. Where if you're in the bottom half, that it's a different type of manager you need, and I don't think Pellegrini was that manager. We jumped before we could run. I think we need to, and that's what I like about Moisey. He's setting this infrastructure, things like a scouting network, and he's really into his analytics and stuff like that. And that's all you need to have a successful team. And then whoever comes in after Moyes, they've got that structure in place rather than having to start all the way and build it up back again, which is what he's had to do, because obviously Pellegrini had it all on bits of paper and took it with him when he left. So
exactly, yeah.
And it's a shame. But anyway, we put Nobes in up front. Who we got up front?
Right, up front we'll go Trevor Morley.
Oh, good old Trev.
Mr. Prolific. He was season after season.
Yeah.
You know, and he hit the ground running from day one, really.
Oh, he did.
And again, he used to play lower league football with us. You know, unfortunately, you know, we went down a couple of times and he was there, but you know, even in the Premier League, he knew where the back of the net was. Just a brilliant all-round player. Used to get his head in, didn't care. Again, a bit like Ginge, you know, he should just put in there. Just boots come flying at him. He's getting in there with his head and stuff. He used to be kicked about so many times, but again, you know, I know he's at Man City, but Man City weren't a big club back then. But why wasn't a bigger team come in for him? Because, you know, I don't know his game to goal ratio, but it would have been very, very good for us.
Yeah, and he always put a shift in, didn't he? Always put a shift in, you know what I mean? He's like,
and he wasn't injury prone either. You know, we've had some.
No, you're right. You're right.
And he was very good with, you know, staying on the pitch and playing game after game. So.
Despite his sort of like bustling, getting stuck in their nature, which is, you know, usually, you know, that might precipitate you get, that's a long word, precipitate, but that might mean you get, you know, a bruised eye or a you know, elbow, and you know, but he never seemed to get injured. He always seemed to just old school striker, you know, dust himself off and carry on again. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Trevor Morley is a.
I remember he got booted in the face against Portsmouth, and he was basically he'd scored and the boot come flying in, but he'd scored the goal. And as far as what I remember, he actually carried on playing after that, but he was just pouring with blood from his mouth. But you know, he just didn't care, and you know, he just knew where the back of the net was.
Yeah.
No matter what league. And I know Man City fans really rated him as well. But
yeah. Well, I mean, he's really. I mean, he was always. You know, I just thought he was just a really nice bloke as well. You know, he's very great.
Is it Norway he lives now?
Yeah, Norway or it might be Norway or Holland, randomly somewhere like he lives somewhere. He
does a commentary, doesn't he? I think on football and stuff over there.
Yeah, he does. So, but yeah, no, he's on there. So okay, we'll put Trevor in. Who's the last one?
Right, last one. Again, you know, I could have gone for players like Carlton Cole.
Yeah,
Mr. Loyal, brilliant. Tevez, I thought was, you know, brilliant. It's a shame, you know, he didn't stay for any longer. But I'll go with Dean Ashton. Dino. It's just a massive shame what happened to him.
It is.
And we never got the compensation for that, and that still riles me that we never got anything towards that. You know, we lost a £7 million player that would have cost other teams 20 to buy off us. But we were so lucky to have him, but we just didn't have him long enough.
No, we didn't.
And I was at the cup final, so basically I got a ticket in the Liverpool end.
Yeah.
One of my suppliers got me and one of the buyers a ticket. He was a Liverpool fan, and obviously me being West Ham, like £1,000 ticket. But anyway, we got a ticket, so I'm stuck in the corner of Liverpool end, a couple of West Ham girls next to me, and obviously surrounded by Mickey Mouses. And of course he scored.
Yeah.
And then of course he scored again, but the second time he comes running over towards the corner flag. You'll watch it, you'll see it, and of course there's these two girls next to me. They're going mental, and I'm having to just kind of sit on my hands, just like, what do I do? I'm surrounded by these big burly Scousers.
Yeah, Mickers, yeah.
And he come towards me, and I was so tempted just to get up and hug him, but just a phenomenal striker.
He was, and he's so funny. I still can't watch programs with Sean Wright Phillips on without switching them off. It's really weird, you know. It's like,
I'm the same.
Honestly, it's really weird, isn't it? It's so childish because it was just a challenge.
Apologised.
Yeah.
Like I say, we never got anything for that.
No, that's bizarre, isn't it? It's so weird because you just think what he could have been, not just for England, not just for West Ham, but for England. I mean, yeah, he might not have been there for maybe another couple of seasons and then had to go to Man United or whatever. But you know, at that time, England were crying out for a partner for Wayne Rooney, and they had Heskey and stuff. But if they had Dean Ashton and him, they would have been world beaters. Honestly, he was a phenomenal player. And
we used to call him Fat Annie Lennox because when he went blonde.
Yeah.
We used to call him that in the Trevor Brookings stand, yeah.
But I just thought, you know, and it's just like I remember the excitement when we signed him. So I was really excited, and it's the similar level of excitement I got when we signed Bowen. he was that young, hungry Championship player, and you just
That's
knew
7 million as well,
he was like
wasn't
7 million, and at the time that was a fair whack really, for a player. But he was just a complete striker. I thought he was reasonably not rapid, but he was quick to beat a defender. He was strong. He was skillful. He was tall. He could do the flamboyant stuff as well. He could beat a man. He was the complete striker, and we've never replaced him.
No.
Never, which is a terrible shame.
It is. You guarantee if it had been at another club, he wouldn't have got an injury, and he'd have probably gone on to have a.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just the West Ham way. Yeah, exactly. It's the West Ham way, and that's difficulty. But we're littered with those types of stories, aren't we, for our club? You know, what could have beens, and it's like, I don't know. But I mean, Dino's just, I thought he was a fantastic player. And again, they were trying to, it didn't work. On paper it would have worked, because obviously they brought in Bellamy as well, and him and Bellamy, given enough time to shine, would have, I honestly think, would have been our Cotti McAvenny partnership. They were both
tried to come back as well, didn't he? And he said I tried it, it just didn't work. I think his insurance didn't pay out, because obviously he tried to come back and basically, made it worse, sort of thing. I think he said in the interview that he didn't get anything for it because the insurance didn't pay up, because I tried to come back, sort of thing, when I shouldn't have done. But
it's a shame. It is a shame, but unfortunately, I mean, he made a fantastic impact for the short time he was there, so to speak, on the pitch, in terms of the FA Cup and obviously the semi-finals, goals and things like that, and and obviously when he came back for the testimonial for Mark, and he did his bicycle kick, and then had to had to go off because he's back, and it was like, but it just shows you that it's still there. It was still something there as a player. And
because I was there at Old Trafford when he scored that goal, and
yes,
it was 4-1, wasn't it? But I was. Again, one of my suppliers, they had a box at Old Trafford, and I was basically sitting in there, and I know we got beaten, but what a goal!
Oh, exactly, and that's what we want. It's those moments, isn't it, that we live for as West Ham fans. We can talk about. Lewis, it's been as I said. Look, time flies. Almost an hour. Who knows?
Yeah, blimey.
That's what I mean.
There's players you look at and you think, Di Canio,
Of course,
so many different players, but it was kind of, for me, it's just probably Di Canio over Trevor Morley. A lot of people would say, but for me, it's kind of an era. Remember most, sort of thing.
Exactly, and football is based on opinions, and everyone has different opinion and different time references of when they were really into the team. And I mean, my time reference is, people said to me that when your favourite type of music is when you're sort of 15, 16, and I think that, and well, I agree, but I think that's the same with footballers and football times as well. So my most fond memories were when I was about 15 or 16 with West Ham, and so the players I sort of are my favourite players tend to be around that era. And it's just, but then obviously,
what year did you start supporting the club then?
So my first game was 92. When 1993 season, I would have been. I was a quite late developer in terms of games, so I can't remember. I must have been at least 11. He says I was quite late, maybe 12. So my era was that to sort of the mid 90s, the late 90s. So it is Trevor Morley, Ian Bishop, John Moncur, Pete Butler, Steve Jones. We've had them all on the channel as well, apart from Morley yet. We'll get him on. And then maybe going into sort of Xhaka, sort of like, Di Canio. That was my era. And so those are the players that I have an affection to. And it's the same true. So if you interview people who are younger than us, for example, then there will be sort of midnight. There'll be sort of Sebastian Schemmels and that, and that's what's great about the channel, because you get some really random ones. So we had one the other day. What was one's come up the other day? Like people like it's just the stories of some of these players as well. Like some guy I've done sort of unsung heroes or unlikely 11s, and it's just stories about players.
That's what I was going to do, sort of like I was going to do my 11, and then I was going to do the worst sort of 11 afterwards, like Wayne Quinn and Gary Charles and Alou Diarra and Boogers and.
But but people like Boogers we've had on in people's 11s as well, because we interviewed a guy called James John who runs the We Are West Ham podcast, and he has and probably the only one in existence. He has a West Ham shirt with Boogers on the back. Because he'd gone to the club shop to buy a shirt that day. They'd signed Marco Boogers. And his dad said, this guy's going to be mustard. And so he's got Boogers, where he was 13 or whatever he was at the time. And yeah, no, it's funny how some of these stories come on. But anyway, Luke.
I love players like, Jerome Bora. I used to love players, the underrated players. The guys that, didn't really do a lot, didn't score a lot of goals, but Bora was...
But we're just there.
The late great Bora, should I say?
Late great. No, I know. I like those players.
I remember even like when we signed Diego Tristan, and I was,
yes,
over the moon with that
because he was like,
it didn't work out. But in his prime, he was brilliant.
He was brilliant. He was good on Championship Manager and stuff like that, wasn't it? So it was like Diego Tristan's brilliant, and it's like we've got I like interviewing the players who are gone and forgotten, I call them sometimes. So we've had people like obviously we've had the Tony Gales and Cotties and stuff, but we've like people like John Pansel, and I've had Luke Chadwick on. We've got who I'm interviewing. I'm interviewing a couple more. We've got Ian Foyer. Do you remember him? The goalkeeper.
Foyer, he was
tallest goalkeeper in the Premier League, I believe.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's still the tallest goalkeeper in the Premier League ever to play, and he was the first American player to play in the first. It took him 6 years to make a debut for us because we signed him in '94. He then went out. We got rid of him in '96. He came back in 2000 and made his debut. But I love players like that because they've all worn a West Ham shirt, and whether it's once or it's 500 or 700 times, they've all done something that we wanted to do and we still want to do as in our dreams, and so. Doesn't matter who they are, even as he said, even the ones we take the mickey out of, even the Midus and Andy Melvilles and the Malky Mackays and even the Wayne Quinns, they've still played for West Ham, and so they're connected to us somehow. But we're going to get as many on the spot.
You'll have to try and get Stuart Slater on then.
I'm working on it, Lewis. Don't worry.
Okay.
My agent Steve Jones is trying to get me that sorted, but yes, so
he's not very active on Twitter. I know.
No, he's not. But we're going to try and get Slates on anyway soon. But anyway, Luke, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much,
you, mate. Yeah,
and thank you to everyone for watching as well. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Keep an eye out for all the fundraising stuff we're doing in a couple of weeks' time. And from me and Lewis, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Come on, you Irons. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers,
bye-bye.
Take care, mate.
Take care.